Again, happy Thursday. Again, today's going to be an exciting day or is an exciting day for PushPress because we are just at the start of being able to release a ton of things that we've been working on for the past, I don't know, maybe a couple of years. So today's release is just the first part that kind of opens a door for us to be able to roll out these next releases in the next couple months. Some being faster than others, right? So what brings us here today is we're making a shift from the way that we handle subscription payments in PushPress. And so let me share my other screen here with you guys. Cool. So welcome today for this update of moving subscriptions to invoices. On its face, it doesn't sound like much, and from your perspective, from your day-to-day perspective, it's not going to be much. There's not going to be too much change in terms of how you utilize the system, but what this does is it opens up a ton of things for us to be able to do in terms of handling payments and combining payments and all that kind of stuff in the future. So what is it? Well, really, it's just we're changing how we internally in PushPress side handle your billing. So previously, whenever someone would make a purchase for a plan, that transaction would get closed immediately. There'd be no option to split a payment, to combine invoices, to modify really anything because that transaction closed out immediately. So with the switch to invoicing now, what happens with every transaction, we're also going to create an invoice immediately as well, right? And what that does is it gives us a lot more flexibility to be able to handle how we manage that payment. So again, the reason why we did make this change is the way that we were using it, the way that we had it created was it was just a one-trick pony. We wouldn't be able to do anything else with that payment. So now this is going to open up a ton of flexibility with how we handle payments. Why do you care? So again, I kind of alluded to this a little bit earlier, but this just opens up a ton of flexibility from our side in terms of being able to combine invoices. This isn't live yet, but in the future, you'll be able to combine some invoices. So let's say if someone has a retail purchase and they bought some appointments, those kinds of things. Our goal is to be able to combine those so we save you on transaction fees, and we also don't bombard that member with 17 different transactions. Splitting payments is also a really big, useful feature that we'll be able to do because we're adding subscriptions to invoices. So now you'll be able to capture payment. If you're charging like a one-time fee of $500, you can take $200 now via credit card, $200 later via cash, and then close the rest out with another credit card. Oh, and ACH. We'll talk a little bit more about that a little later. So does this change anything in terms of how you guys utilize the system? Not really. In terms of signing a member up, it's still going to follow the same process. You'd still add a plan to the member. If that plan is set to be billed immediately, you're not going to even see the invoice. We'll just go right from sign up to payment to now this member has a subscription. Again, where this changes is just allow more flexibility on the back end and then a few more options if you wanted to handle payment a little bit differently. So we went over that there's not really any material changes in terms of the front end use, right? And so when you do process a payment for a membership, again, those will still close automatically. You don't have to do any additional steps there. So rather than kind of just talk about it more and more, what I'll do is kind of show you the few things that have changed and just walk you through the current process of how this whole subscription to invoice kind of works, right? So we'll go to my test system here, and kind of the first example we'll go through is just how the process hasn't changed, right? So let's just take, for example, you already have a member in the system. Let's take Brian. And we need to add another plan to his membership, right, to his profile. So if I'm doing this from the dashboard, I would go add new plan to member. I'll make this a recurring plan, and maybe he wants to do bootcamp. Okay. Apologize for not looking in the camera, guys. My screen's down here. And so we'll give him a discount because we like him. And we'll charge his credit card. There's a little bank account thing there. That's our little tease, what to talk about a little bit. But now, so I go add to plan, or add plan. And that's it. That's the same kind of proven, very simple workflow for just adding a new plan to a member, right? So if you notice, we don't notice anything different. There's no invoice here, but if you notice the receipt, it shows an invoice, right? And this is kind of key, okay? So I'll show you how we can kind of play around or take advantage of the fact that now we've created invoices. So we'll go back to a different member this time. And in this example, what we'll do is walk through how you could potentially split up payments, okay? So now we're gonna go back to add a new plan to member. And let's make this one a non-recurring plan, okay? Bootcamp seems like a pretty popular plan, so we'll do that. But what I'm gonna do, because I know for a fact right now, I wanna split this payment up. $400 is a little too much to stomach for Charles. So what I'm gonna do, I set this bill date, move this around to, what's today, August 29th? Let's make it 30th, okay? And the reason why I'm gonna do this is so we can just create that invoice and you can see it. Otherwise, it would close out automatically, okay? So what I'm gonna do is click on credit card because I want the initial payment to come out through the credit card. We'll add plan. But notice we didn't bill today. So what that's gonna do is create an invoice. Where is my invoice? Didn't create my invoice. Man, should have practiced this, right? Let's see. Let's create that invoice. Okay, so we're gonna create this invoice here. And you'll notice it's a $400 amount, right? And so again, let's say maybe Charles wants to come in and he only wants to pay $200 for today. Cold hard cash, okay? So what I'm gonna do is just make a payment. I'll say this should be $200 and it's cash. I'll submit that payment. And so now if you look at this invoice as it refreshes, there's a $200 outstanding balance, okay? So we've already accepted payment, collected payment for $200 in cash, and then we have $200 outstanding. So what I can do is set a future bill date for this particular plan to maybe run his credit card at a specific date in the future. So I'll go to set auto charge, I'll enable this, and I'll set this date for maybe like next Friday, that's payday. I'll hit set auto charge, and that's it. So there's a lot of different variations you can use with this, but the basic thing is you can create the invoice, make a payment. In this example, I just made one payment of cash, but again, I can accept a credit card, cash payments, put those up in different dates, and then also set a future bill date for this transaction to close, right? So if I go back to Charles' main profile, you'll see there's an invoice that's set to be closed next Friday for $200. Cool. So that's just one way that we have a lot more flexibility with moving subscriptions to invoices. Let's see. So the other example we can kind of go through is, let's say Charles comes in and he's on this month-to-month boot camp, right? Meaning he's getting billed every single month. And he wants to come in and pay for the next 6 months in advance, right? So what I can do is just create next invoice. And I can do this for every single payment he wants to make, right? So that created one invoice here for $200. I can do the same thing again. Maybe his company wants to just prepay a bunch of his memberships, right? So each time what I'm doing is creating an invoice. And then if you kind of pay attention to the plan details or the invoice details, let's see. Create next invoice, we'll do this one more time, okay? It has some information here, right? So we can see what billing period we're actually charging him for. And so like a good use case is, maybe you're running a summer promotion, right? Maybe it's a buy 3 months, get the 4th month free. So what you can do is create 4 invoices. So it kind of builds them out for 4 future payments. And then you can just comp his last payment, right? And so if I go back to the profile, again, I see all these invoices. We open those up today. And if you notice, these bill dates stay intact, right? The next attempt bill dates stay intact. So he's not scheduled to pay this particular membership until September 17th, this one, October 17th. And so the beauty of this is, say, he's paid for 3 months up front and we want to hook him up with that last month. What I can do is comp and close it. And so again, that's the beauty of moving everything over to invoicing, is it just opens up a lot more control and flexibility on how you want to handle payments. Let's see. Cool. So let's come back to our presentation here. Okay, so we kind of walked through 3 different examples of what you can do with invoices and what hasn't changed. So again, from your day-to-day operation standpoint, you don't really have to change much about how you process payments. Just know that this opens up a lot more flexibility for us in the future on how you want to handle payments. So with this particular update, we're going to be rolling out kind of slowly. Our plan is to be able to release this to everyone in about 2 weeks. So our target date for this is kind of the week of September 16th, mainly because we have a company retreat where all Push Press employees from across the nation are coming around. We're going to hang out and kind of just talk shop on what we're doing as a company and how we can kind of help still build a perfect solution for you guys. So what we'll do is we'll wait until after we return from that retreat to launch this out. In the meantime, you might see this if you are beta testing ACH for us. So with that, it's a very small select beta testing. I'm probably going to get killed for just saying that we're throwing this beta test out there, but it's not so much of a tease as it is we're announcing we have some kind of beta testing here. But what we're doing is we're selecting just a few clients to help us test out our ACH functionality. So if you're one of the lucky few that gets selected, we're going to be in your ear over the next 2 weeks, just kind of making sure everything is up to par, everything's working flawlessly. And then after that, we'll start kind of rolling things out, which we'll get to. We'll have another webinar on the full breakdown of how ACH works, how you're going to save over 2%, which is massive, especially over a year. Let's see. Okay. So when this change is finally rolled out, there are going to be a few things in terms of just kind of cleaning up some data. For those of you guys who might have a bunch of members who are on alert, right? You have a bunch of membership plans that haven't been paid up, and you'll know this by the designation of next to someone's name or next to someone's plan, you'll see a red alert emblem, right? And so what's going to happen as soon as we flip the switch to push this update, the system is going to generate an invoice for every missed payment that this member has missed. Okay. And so let's say if we roll this out on a Tuesday, that Tuesday evening, you might see 8 different invoices from the same person because they missed payments all the way from January to now. So what you can do in the meantime is just start taking a look and take an inventory of what your alert memberships look like, right? Try to kind of close those out. So what you can do for every one of those is you have a couple different options. Either close them out, right? Collect payment on it, or you can forgive the invoice, in which case it will prevent any further collections of the invoice. So it'll essentially just kind of mark it as paid, but paid 0. Or just take a look at that invoice and make sure that it's set to be closed at a future date, right? So that at least each open invoice has an action to it. Let me show you guys where you can find that. So if you go back to our main dashboard, okay, you go to invoices. And the way that I would look at this is I'm looking at invoices that are open forever, right? So these guys, Tiger Woods hasn't paid an invoice. Well, granted, it's a $0 invoice, but since June 6th, right? So kind of eyeballing this, Kate hasn't paid this particular invoice since July 22nd. And it's a fair amount of money. It's $160. So I'm going to take a look at it and see what we should do about it, right? Maybe she has a credit card on file, so I'll make a payment. Boom, clean it up, right? So that's kind of just the biggest change to keep an eye on when we do roll this out. And we'll give you guys plenty of notice when we do roll this out, so you're not bombarded and you don't end up having, you wake up with 172 invoices on this list, we'll make sure we give you guys enough heads up so you guys can go through all of your alert memberships and just kind of clean them up. Or if you know that they're still outstanding and you need to take care of it, keep it open. That's fine. But we just want to give you guys ample opportunity and heads up so that way we can get ahead of cleaning up the data before we actually release this out. Let's see. Yeah, and so that's it. You know, the change that we made today, really, it's from our perspective in terms of the push press side. We needed to push this out so we can roll out, you know, being able to combine invoices, structure payments a little bit differently, and then get more to come on this. But ACH is finally right on the cusp of release. We just have to draw tickets on who gets the ACH beta. But yeah, so I hope you guys got a lot from that. Let's see, is anyone else on here? Okay, so we got a few people on here on the chat. I'm looking at the chat now. Does anyone have any questions on invoicing, or you know what the benefits or drawbacks are to switching subscriptions to invoices? Since there's only a few, you guys, if you guys have any questions, just shoot them in the chat. Let's see. Otherwise, we are good to go. Yeah, today was a very short, very sweet demo release. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. And just pay attention and kind of keep an eye on the next few weeks. We'll have a lot more to announce the next few weeks. Let's see. So Dan asked, how will you announce the next ACH beta group? So with that, what we'll be looking for is, and we're going to directly reach out to each client or each gym that we include in this initial group of ACH beta. And so you'll be hearing from us by tomorrow. So just keep an eye on your email. We might even give you a call, because we are looking for about 10 clients who are going to give us the feedback that we need to make sure this is ready to roll. So it's not just those who want to use ACH, but those who have experience with ACH and can give us really sound feedback on how they like the way that we've set this up. And we've spent years on this to make sure that it's finally at a place where we're really happy with the workflow and how tight it is. So we just want 10 clients or so that are going to give us that level of feedback. So over the next few weeks, if you are selected, just know that we're going to be in your ear a ton. You may be sick of hearing from myself or from Barry or from Nick, but it's all to be able to move this out to everybody in the next few weeks to next month. So once we get this first group of ACH beta testers through the ringer for the next couple of weeks, after that, our plan is to just kind of phase it out with the next group of push press clients till eventually we can get this out to everybody. All right. Okay. So not many questions on subscriptions to invoicing. We all knew that, or expected that ACH is going to be the thing that everyone looks out for. But yeah, so just keep an eye on things. Again, what we'll do is we'll wrap this replay up in a blog post. I'll try to get that out today so everyone else can take a look at this, and just take the next few weeks, just pay attention to your alert memberships that might be overdue, so we can get ahead of cleaning up that data. So when we finally release this in a few weeks, roll it out live to every client and every system, that there won't be too much data to clean up at that point. All right. And again, if you guys have any questions or there's any issues in terms of how to clean up data or kind of best practices, I'm volunteering Barry as tribute to field those questions, mainly because he's so much faster than I am. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, just hit us up in the chat, hit us up in Facebook, all those good things. We try to be as accessible as possible. Otherwise, have a great Thursday. And if you're lucky enough to get an email or a phone call from us today, you're in the ACH beta group. All right, guys, we'll see you next week.